Hey there, Adam here with the Losi 22 mid motor conversion that I've been designing. So we're now going to focus on the front end, where all the business happens. So first we'll start off with our front bumper. We're going to install that first. Take a look at our awesome bin of screws here. You see what screws we happen to have available. That'd be long enough for what we need. That would be perfect. Looks like we're still retaining our best friend, the 12mm screw. So we need three 12mm screws. Now this plastic here is actually threaded, or to be threaded, so you're going to put some grease on it. I like to start with the middle one. Now these screws aren't meant to be fully threaded. They're just there to kind of provide some strength. You're going to follow it up with a nut. That being said, don't reef on these screws because you can pull it right through the plastic, or not, strip it. So you notice that the plastic protrudes a little bit past the carbon fiber. That's intended. It's to be like a little bit of a scraper to protect the carbon fiber lip. 3 nuts. Friend Loctite. We're going to put a little dab onto each thread. And we're going to find a wrench wherever I did place it. Snug those up. And now we're going to start doing installing the front bulkhead. So hopefully I don't get this all mixed up and assembled wrong. But it's me, so there's a good chance we are. So these are going to be our main components for the front bulkhead area. So we're going to start with this particular part here first. Okay, so we got this bracket, and there's like a counter bore, and the counter bores for bearings. You're going to put those down first. Line that up into here. And it's slotted tapered, so that will fit like this. That fits in between. We're going to go ahead and look at what we got. So before I go and thread there, this actually has some pretty decent thickness, so we're going to want to thread with some decent length to grab into it. This one seems nice. This screw is a 14mm screw. So about 14 mil. And because we're cutting into plastic, grab some grease. snug. Take 2 screws here. That length looks really nice. Looks like it's gonna have a good bite. Let's see. So these are 20 mil screws. Use 2 20 mils. And I'm going to insert it to the top of here. So to get this started, you're going to have to probably give some good push into it. Use the drill. Just going to be very careful. Pushing in. Not going all the way. And then I'm just going to finish this off by hand. So that seems good. We are going to go ahead and start grabbing our bearings from our steering. Where's number 4? There it is. So with that assembly just put together, push 2 bearings in here in the top. Got a little area here I need to trim off. So those bearings fit in there nice. And then there's this lower bulkhead. Do the same. They slip right in. No issues there. So now we are going to head and grab wherever it happens to be. So this is the middle bulkhead, like a smaller one ever. I did my best to kind of match this profile into here, so you have as much material as we can. This part here, hopefully it will go in there. Yep, like a glove. And just get that as seated down as you can. So that's in place, that sits like that. We're going to grab 2 additional screws to thread into that bulkhead, but we don't want to go all the way through. And I think those screws might be a good length. So this screw is 14 millimeter long. So we need 2 14 mil long screws. I think a 12 is going to be too short. Maybe we'll use 12s. We'll see. So I'm actually got a 12. No, 12's too short. We need 2 14s. There we go. There's the other end. So 2 14 millimeter screws will work well. Just gotta pull off any plastic that's been from the original RTR kit. Okay, good. So behind this bracket, there's 2 holes right here. You can feed them in. Okay, we'll tighten that in. Those screws already were there for threads from the initial bulkhead. And we got that in there. So now what we'll do is we'll jump onto installing this bracket. So we're going to look for 3 countersunk screws, most likely are 12 mils. That's 10 mil. Oh, it's been 10 mils I've been using. Okay, sorry. So 3 10 mil screws. I'm going to use grease again because we're cutting into the plastic. So there's 3 threaded holes here that we're going to thread into. That line up to the 3 holes onto the chassis. I'm not going to snug them up just yet, just because I want to get all the screws lined up first. And then we'll tighten it all up. Alright, things are going to start getting a little bit complicated, and I do apologize for that. So we got our front steering part here. We're going to pop this off. Alright. We're going to pop off the link. We're going to take the ball studs and we're going to be flipping them over. That ball stud's out. Pull this stud out. Flip it to the bottom. Now, before we go about putting this ball stud back in, we're going to put a 2 mil spacer right behind it. Let's package up. Steal the silver ones I have here because they will color match. The ones that come with the kit will be black. These are what I have on hand right now. They're on their way order. So I'm using a 2 mil shim underneath this bulkhead, or underneath this ball stud. So it'll finish looking like this. Hopefully you can see it. So I flip them around. Initially stock, it's like that, so that's flipped. Do the same to the other side. Again, if I'm doing stuff off camera, I apologize. I don't intend to. Just, I'm used to working close to my chest. Okay, so I got those 2 links done. I'm going to take this link, pop that on, pop the other side on. So now that link is on the bottom. I inserted it to those bearings on the bottom pod. I'm going to grab this piece now. Actually, not yet. I'm going to grab the front suspension. That's going to rest right down in here. It gets keyed. There's little steps and it keys right in there. I don't think it can go on backwards. Not really, no. So there's a little bracket in the front. Just make sure it's forward. That keys in. Then there is this wedge shape. This will go installed upward. So you can have kind of these like little ridges or steps upward on top. Because I don't think it would work too well. I mean, I don't think it really matters, but it is intended to have the steps on top. So now I'm going to take this bulkhead piece, so that's all stacked together, line up with the bearings. First get that all in there. Okay, so that's good. So now that's together, I'm going to take a countersunk screw and I'm going to thread it into the top here. So again, another 12 mil. Okay, so now that's in there, and that's actually, I tightened that one up. You should be able to wiggle if you need to. That holds it all together, so you can flip this over. I'm going to line up the back, very back screw for the bulkhead. I'm going to look for 12 mil if it's available. Or not 12, but 10 mil, sorry. Dab of grease. Feed that in. So that's in. And then I'm going to look at our 30 mil screws. Looks like we're going to need 4 of those. Okay. And we're going to follow up by installing this bracket to the front end here. See how it all lines up. Screwdriver. See how length this screw happens to be. Should be adequate. And this screw is 12 millimeter long. Get a dab of grease. Just gonna re-grease that. Okay, there is a hole in the very back I'm going to thread into. That's on an angle. Good. grab 2 10mm screws. Tie that bracket to the shock brackets. Alright, there's your receiver mount there. And that's all pretty good now. So next we're going to go ahead and start installing our front floating body mount. Actually, no, sorry. So now that we have that installed, you can pop the top front links in. But actually what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm going to move those ball studs. Well, that's actually another step I forgot too. I do apologize. So moving those ball studs in a hole, because again it's going to make them stay parallel. So moving the ball studs, the inner ball studs, to the very inner hole. And you can get longer ball stud threads, and you can thread into the 3D printed bulkhead, upper bulkhead piece, for added support there. But what we're going to do is we're going to grab 2 more additional screws. I think they would need about 14mm screws would work really well. So there's that length. I think that's the same length. So these are 12mm. That's a 12mm. 12mm seems like it'll be okay. So I can grab a 12mm screw, feed it to this side of the bulkhead, get it around. You might have to kind of fish around with it first because it goes in a little bit of an angle because of the protrusions on the one bulkhead. Take the screwdriver and kind of thread it in to get past it. Now it's past it, now it's straightened out. Like I said, it's difficult and I apologize, but just added reinforcement for the front end. Sides in. And that side is in. So both those are in. That front bulkhead's really tied in together quite well now. So just taking a look at the chassis, all so far looking good. So we'll get into installing the front. Oh, sorry, skipping a step. So now we'll pop these links on. I'm just gonna grab my wrench and I'm gonna just quickly throw, make it longer. So to make it longer, I go backwards. And this will have to be adjusted properly later on down the road. This is just to get the links a little more lined up square. That's good there for now. Alright, so that's decent for now. So now we're going to grab our 1.5 mil wrench. We're going to remove the screws up here. We're going to push the pins through. Pull the pins out. Knuckles off. Flip the sides. Curiosity, I wonder if I actually can flip those over and actually gain some ground clearance in the front if you really need it. Right now, it's been designed not to worry about that, but it's a possibility. Anyways, put those 1.5 millimeter screws back in. But okay, going to spin these knuckles over. Okay, so they're over. I'm going to kick the steering over one way. Pop that on, flick it the other way. Pop that on. So now, steering's reversed, flipped around. We're going to grab our servo brackets. So now we don't have to even worry about flipping the servo over. It stays the way it is. We'll grab our servo screws with the washers. I made care to make sure that I try to keep the washers onto the screw. Did I succeed in all of them? No, I see a loose one floater. Oh no, I did! Yay! Alright, so you got screws for our servo. A little bit dab of grease. And I'm going to go take the bracket. Get it started. Okay. I'm not going to go all the way tight fully yet. I'm going to wait till I get it mounted down and I can push down, then I'll tighten it up. So I'll get it almost installed. It's a little loose still. See I'm wiggling it. Grab the next screw. Do the same thing. Get some grease on it. Find the hole. Repeat with the other two screws. Oh, darn it. No, I did lose one. No. And the question is, hope I didn't steal that screw. Hope I still have one in this pile. And there's one there. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so those are threaded in. I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 relatively long screws here. 14 mil I got in my hand. I'm gonna use 2 12 mil screws here. I just don't want to take too many of the screws in case I need it down the road. Then I gotta start swapping them out. So going from underneath, and that should just slide through. That's sitting through the top plate. Okay, got it going. I'm not going to fully snug it just yet. Get it close, but not all the way. Okay, so that's started. I'm going to make sure this link gets popped on for the servo. Okay, that's on there. And then I'll get the other screw installed. Once again, dab of grease. So I'll snug these 2 up now. Okay, now I'm going to push down on that servo and snug those screws up for the servo. Okay, so that's good. So running that down, the other way. Probably put like a little zip tie or something to hold that down. In the meantime, get these front links installed. So hopefully these are going to be long enough, which I think they will be. So now I got 2 25mm screws. Put a dab of grease onto it. And you're going to take these rockers so you can see how it bulges out. Go on this side, go from the bottom. So I got a last thread to go. Wipe off the grease. Just pull away the plastic. Caution, careful, the screw is going to be really warm. It's going to be hot. Ow, just touched it and it hurt. Because it's a lot of friction cutting into that plastic. So again, the other side. Just getting the screw started. Finishing off with the drill, speed things up. Again, I'm not going too fast. I don't want to risk cracking, breaking stuff. Finish it off with a screwdriver. Wipe off any grease that's protruded off. Put the plastic. So now I got those screws there. We're going to go and grab our bearings. So we got our bearings. I'm going to pop the top in here. I'm doing the top first because it's a little bit more difficult. So that went in there very nice. Maybe 2 for 2. Got a little bit of struggle here. Let's go straighten it out. Got to grab pliers and just give it a push. So that popped in there nice. Gonna go to our shim spacers here. And I'm going to need 4 2mm shims. Oh, sorry. No, I'm gonna need 2 2mm shims here. So I'm just gonna mark that down. So we've got a 2mm shim, which will go into here. And again, that is so that when you tighten down the screw, you're not going to squish. You only squish it on the in a race, so it won't bind. It'll still be smooth moving. Okay, that's in there. Another shim. Bearing. All right, that's in there. We're going to grab some long screws here. These lengths are good. So these screws here are 20mm. We're going to need to grab 2 1/4 inch or so, or a 1/4 millimeter, 0.25 millimeter shims. Feed that screw in. So this right here is a right side, and that's a left. So this is a right, that's a left. So on the right side is going to sit like this. If you can see it. Got a screw, some grease. And that shim under there, again, makes it so you're not rubbing the bearing onto any plastic. Snug it up, and you want to make sure that it moves freely without bind. Kind of flip it upside down, make sure it's moving. And again, you want that to be nice and snug so it doesn't have no play, but you don't want it too tight, it's going to bind. Crack it hair loose. Happy there. Bad. Release it again. I'm pretty happy there. So we'll do the same with the other side. You're going to need that 20mm screw. Okay. So once again, feed the screw through, grab your shim, put a dab of grease. Alright, so I got my wire tucked out of the way so it won't get bound. Make sure that you don't let that arm fall down. The rocker arm fall. So it's going to get started to show, I'm not sure what I mean. So make sure that this rocker doesn't fall on this side. Just make sure it's, crud. Just make sure it's above this part so it doesn't get in the way of anything. Can I take this wire, feed it down? Maybe. Actually, that's kind of cool. I didn't realize that I can just kind of wrap it around. Cool. So I can take this, wrap around, there's a little notch, take up some slack, and it should sit hopefully high enough that the battery will slip in. And that'll keep the wire out of the way. So it's a little too tight. Crack it loose. Seems good. Chicken rock. I got a little too much rock in though, so it's wiggle too much plate. So I need to tighten that up. Rocking. Snug. Put it over here. Rocking's minimal. Alright, I'm happy with that. So now what I'll do is we'll grab front Traxxas links. Okay, so I got these links here, and but it is going to kind of suck. You take the links and you're going to tighten it right down. I'm going to bring them right almost to the hex in the center. And I right now have a gap of about almost 7 millimeters. That's roughly where we're going to be, I think. It's about 7 mil. And then from there you can adjust. Check. Nice, so it's a little bit longer. This is like right on 7 mil, but it's a little bit longer the other side, so I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit. Wrong way. Cool. And the reason why I'm using these links and bring it in so much is that way that metal rod's almost a full length, so it ends up being a really solid link there. And they fit like just perfectly into the shock arms. So we're gonna have to grab our screws for our front shocks. Hopefully I didn't use them. Looks like we're good. At least these two screws will work. So screw length is a 20 mil. I'm going to put it into the further opening. So another thing to note is you can see that the end of the shocks, I don't know if you can see the shot. Stand up a bit. So you can see how this is. There's a wide hat and then there's, I guess, a smaller one. So this side's actually longer than that side. So I'm going to be using the supplied screw that comes with Traxxas. It's a 2.5 mil wide head. And I'm going to put it on the wider side. So that link is a little... Get in focus, dang it. So I have the wider cap head, or head with a screw going that side that way in. So I'm going to be using the most outer hole for the suspension. Because of the floating body mount, I won't gain any more suspension travel if I move to the inward. So I'd rather have as far out as I can to get more better feedback for the suspension. Because if it's, you got your pivot like right here and you got more movement going on here, the closer you bring it to the end, the more movement on the suspension will be felt by the suspension or by the shock. Okay, I'm going to grab my 2.5 millimeter wrench, using that screw. So twist this so it lines up better. Get some grease on that screw again. Feed that screw into the one rocker arm. And get started. There we go. Okay. And we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to make sure that these links can rotate at any point in suspension, because if they don't, it's going to limit how much you can travel. Okay, so that side's good. This side's a little too tight. So rotate it back a bit. So now I can wiggle it. I got wiggle motion there, wiggle motion there. hopefully we're good there. Now we're going to go ahead and install our front floating body mount. So I think we needed a 12 millimeter screw, or not 12, but how long of a screw do we use? Actually, I can probably swap those out. Looks like we're doing. No, I'm gonna need those longer screws. So for the front mount, 16 mil. Is that what I use in the rear? 16 mil. So I'll need those screws for the shocks in the rear. So yeah, looking like it's gonna be a 16 mil. Grab our bearings. So once again, screw. Gonna grab 2 times 2 millimeter shims. Okay, so we got our 2 shims here. That's 1. That's 2. Feed it through the front bulkhead. Use my screwdriver to hold it up. Shim in there. We are going to need again, like a half mil, or sorry, like a quarter mil shim for the front there. Grab our shock tower, thread that on. Make it snug. Not too snug. I want to make sure it moves freely. That seems decent enough. I'm going to grab a nut. Spin around. Dab a Loctite on that thread. Oh, paranoid. Yeah, I got both screws and washers in there. Put it all back together. Shoot. Little dab of Loctite. Grab our nut. Started. And I have 10 mil on the top. So 12 mil bottom, 10 mil top. That way I have a lot of thread into the plastic on the bottom. And still have enough thread on top to use a nut. So these are not fully down. I want to be able to kind of spin them, rotate them around, so I can wiggle around. Fix up the other side. So hopefully that's okay. Moving. So another benefit to having the links on the front, which I'll show in just a moment. So got the front screw, shim, go to the thread hole on top of the carbon fiber, thread that in, back it off a hair, get out 2 nuts. Put on a dab of Loctite. It's not anything new. So with the floating mount on, you can see the front arm. You can bend that quite a bit. With this on there, it does reduce how much, especially when you put the other side on. So you can see how much flex I got going on here. Now, I'll throw the other side on. Washer. Alright, knock it out. Let's back it off a hair. Loctite. Snug that up. So now you can see it is significantly stiffer because again it's tying onto that, so both it just stiffens that front up as well. So you can see the suspension drop. And that's working the way as it should. So I got full travel going on. That's hidden there. Working a treat. Awesome. So that finishes off getting the front installed. And next up would be doing the suspension, the shocks.